Welcome to the first part of videos on histograms. As you can see here, we have a histogram on Algebra 1 grades titled just like many other charts at the top. There's two axes. You can see frequency down the left side here, and then it looks like we have our grades, those Algebra 1 grades in percents down at the bottom here. What separates a histogram from a lot of other charts, especially most mistakably the bar graph, is there's no gap in between any of these bars. And actually in a histogram these bars are known as classes. And so for example in our histogram here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes. All classes in a histogram are separated because they have the same class width, meaning the range of those classes are all the same, and you can find that by taking the high number of a class and subtracting the low number. 100 minus 90 gives you a class width of 10, and so all 5 of these classes have a width of 10. Again, that's one feature that separates histograms apart from a lot of other data displays. Another thing that's helpful when you read a histogram is you can see, because of those classes, a good generalization of your information. So we can see, because 80 is the lowest score here in this class, which is the lowest B in Conestoga Valley High School, you can see a majority of the students got a B or an A in this Algebra 1 class. We had 12 students, and here's where you can use the left side, the frequency, to help you. You know you had 12 students get an 80 to a 90. Now, when talking about mean, median, mode, and range specifically, you aren't able to determine the mean because even though you know there are 12 students here, you don't know their exact grades. You just know 12 students scored from an 80 to a 90. You know about 10 students scored from a 90 to 100. And so what you can do with a histogram with a little bit of work is you can start to see how many students are in this Algebra 1 class, or whatever chart you're looking at. 12 students in the 80 to 90 range, so 12 got a B, 10 got an A, with some of them maybe even scoring 100. We have 7 who had about a 60 to 70. You can see that 6 had a 70 to 80. And it does look like 4 students ended up failing this course. They got lower, a 60 or lower. So actually, here's the last part with a histogram, and here's how you can read this. Hopefully you remember from domain and range what a parenthesis and a bracket will do with specific numbers. This parenthesis tells me I can get really close to 50, but I will never include 50. This bracket around the number 60 tells me 60 is the last number included. I can get to 60, but if someone had a 60.1, they would find themselves in this class over here, the second class, because a 60.1 is bigger than 60, so we'd be over in this class. And that's how a histogram is always set up. You can start to actually see that some of these numbers are written more than once. That's because they're included in one of the classes, but not included in the other class. And so one thing you can see is, you can tell 22, 28, 35 of the 39 students definitely passed this class. They got at least a 60 or above. Again, and this is one reason why you can't tell the mean or the mode from a histogram, 4 students had a score from 50 to 60. That could be a 55, a 56, 57, and 58. It could be all 4 could have gotten a 60. They would have landed in this class. But that's how you start to read a histogram. If you look at our second example here, we have some home run hitters, so top home run hitters. Again, hopefully you notice we have frequency up the left hand side, so that's how often something occurs. So if we're looking at home run hitters and at the bottom here we have the number of home runs, then that must mean this is the amount of players who hit that many home runs. So again, we can start to count. Well, it looks like I have in between 0 and 4, so probably 2 hitters hit between 20 to 28 home runs. We have in between 8 and 12 here, so 10 hitters hit between 28 and 36 home runs. Big section here, and this is one thing you can tell very easily from a histogram. A lot of hitters hit in the 36 to 44 range. In fact, about 20 based on our graph here. And then this, if you follow it over, not quite, you could say that's probably at 4. So we're going to say 4 hitters hit from 44 to 52. So again, you can see with a histogram, majority of my hitters, 30 of my 36 hitters hit between 28 and 44. So a lot of home runs hit in the 28 to 44 range. Only a couple really, really low and only a couple really, really high. So you can tell most of the information was right here in the middle. Now, 2 things I didn't talk about last chart. I mainly talked about how you couldn't find the mean or the mode. However, from a histogram, you can get a rough estimate about the range and the median. We'll start with the range because that's a little bit easier. You know someone could have hit 52 home runs because this bracket says I'm going to include 52. So the most amount of home runs that would have been hit based on this histogram is 52. I know the least amount is 21. Now notice why I didn't include 20. 20 is not the lowest number here. This parenthesis says I can get really, really, really close to 20, and since you can't hit part of a home run, that would mean the lowest number included in this histogram is 21. So if I were to find my range being the maximum number minus the minimum number, that would mean I could take 52 and subtract 21, and so I would have a rough estimate of 31 for the range. Again, it's a rough estimate because I know 4 people hit home runs from 44 to 52 home runs, but I don't know exactly where they land in here. It could be 45, 46, 47, and 48. Could be 2 49s and 2 50s. I don't know for sure which is the highest number, but I do know 52 is the highest possible, so I'm going to include that. So a rough guess about the range, rough estimate here, 31. Median a little bit more difficult, and you have to understand, to find the median, there's this formula where I take the number of values and add 1, and if I take that number and divide by 2, that would put me at the middle number, which is exactly what the median stands for. So I have 34, 36 people. 36 plus 1 is 37, and half of 37 is 18 and a half. So roughly the 18 and a half, or in between the 18th and 19th person, would be my median. So I'm going to start to count. Well, I have 2 hitters in the first class, another 10 in the second class. So 2 plus 10 is 12. So I've gone through the first 12. I want to find out where the 18th to 19th. Well, because this has 20, and I've hit 12 so far, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and the 19th, both the 18th and the 19th hitter would find themselves in the class 36 to 44. So that means the median, you would say, is from 36 to 44. Again, not super accurate. That's not what a histogram's for. A histogram has other benefits. But I could tell that the median falls in the range of 36 to 44. That's all for interpreting histograms. Join us for the next video on how to construct a histogram.